As mentioned in the first testing video, we need to answer the second question: how is the measurement made? There are two dimensions across which we can categorize tests. Understanding these two categories helps teams to determine the details that need to be discussed and finalized before testing begins. These two dimensions are direct versus surrogate and standard versus constructed. The first dimension is direct versus surrogate. A direct measure is one in which you can measure directly. A surrogate measurement cannot be measured directly. Instead, you must make estimates or inferences. The second dimension is standard versus constructed. Standard measures used established or defined measurements. A constructed measurement is one in which a team or others set the measurements. Shown here is a grid with 4 quadrants, with the 4 categories labeled: direct, surrogate, standard, constructed. Measurements fall into one of the 4 quadrants. Draw this grid on a piece of paper now. Let's unpack each of the 4 quadrants. Direct and standard measurements can be measured now and with a measuring instrument. Examples of characteristics of direct measurements include time, weight, volume, and length. All of these measurements can be associated with a defined international standard, such as SI units. Here is a partial list of tools used for direct and standard measurements: ruler, caliper, scale, ammeter, voltmeter, stopwatch, and pH meter. For measurements in the standard surrogate quadrant, you can't make the measurement directly, but there is a standard. For example, sometimes it takes too long to make a measurement, so instead you make an estimate. Examples of measurements in the surrogate standard quadrant include cost, battery life, and flow rate. Finalizing the cost of a product is very difficult when a team only has a prototype. Therefore, the team may make an estimate using the standard scale of US dollars. It may take too long to measure the full battery life of a product, so the team may look up a value in the literature. Finally, a team may measure the filtration rate for their device over the course of a week and then extrapolate its performance over a month. For battery life, a team may complete a series of measurements with their device and measure depletion of the battery during those tests. The team could then extrapolate that depletion to estimate the overall length of the battery life. For direct constructed measurements, no standard exists. You can measure it now with a direct measurement, but you may need to develop your own scale. Measurements that are direct and constructed often require interacting with users. One example of a direct constructed measurement is testing whether a person can carry a device a certain distance in a certain time. The measurement is direct because time and distance can be measured directly with known tools. The test is constructed because the team is defining the parameters of the test, such as the device size and the distance. Measurement methods for direct constructed testing could include user testing with your device, direct observations of your users with the device, or having users complete a user-defined scale. The last and final quadrant is for constructed surrogate measurements. There are some design criteria for which there is no direct way to measure and no standard scale. These can be very difficult because the team has to develop its own surrogate measurement and also may have to develop its own scale. Examples of constructed surrogate measurements include safety, durability, and maintenance frequency. As an example, a team has decided to evaluate safety by having 10 experts evaluate their device using a scale. This measurement is surrogate because the team has decided to ask 10 experts as a way to measure safety. The measurement is also constructed because the team defined the scale. Durability is also a common constructed surrogate measurement. Durability can be measured through drop tests or accelerated usage tests. To summarize, we have our grid with 4 quadrants. Examples of direct standard measurements include weight, length, and volume. Examples of standard surrogate measurements include cost, battery life, and flow rate. Examples of direct constructed measurements include usability and portability. And finally, examples of constructed surrogate measurements include safety, durability, and maintenance frequency. In conclusion, we have just reviewed ways to categorize the tests used to evaluate your design criteria. These categories are direct versus surrogate and standard versus constructed.